Well, this is a surprise. Okay, let me ask. So, Governor, will you be prepared to reduce the tuition fees to what operated before you came in, at least for university students?
Well, it is something I believe this state cannot do. I am not prepared to do it because we have responsibilities, and those responsibilities were put on us by the government to serve them. This state has no business having 3 universities at the same time. Today, if they were allowing 25,000 when they had 2 universities, when you now have 3 universities, it is a whole lot of responsibility. And I believe quite strongly, for that matter, that we have more than what we are chewing, more than what we can bite, or we are biting more than what we can chew. Sorry for that. And for me, it is for the good of these people, of our people, that our students will go to university and have proper university education, not have great education, not one in which because you are paying pittance, you don't get proper education. We are giving them proper education. That's why today, Adekunle Ajasin, that you are talking about, is the best university, state university in Nigeria.
You have opportunity now to ask him a question.
Thank you. Well, Tayo, the question I will ask you is this. You have toured round the state, and I want you to be honest to the people. Have you not seen the impact of good governance in this state today, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of our primary schools, in terms of provision of water, in terms of industrialization that was nowhere to be found before I came in? Have you not seen anything? Tell them.
Unfortunately, I have not seen much. Unfortunately, I've not seen in Ilaje, I've not seen the infrastructure, I've not seen in Eseldo, I've not seen in Irili.
Maybe in Akure? You have not seen enough.
I have not seen enough. I have not seen enough in Akure.
You have not seen enough.
All I can tell you is I will do more than you, sir.
Did you do that?
I will do more than you.
In your government, did you do that at all?
I will do more than me.
No, why you? No, I don't know what you have.
You said I should be honest.
You said you have not seen. I've pointed out to you so many places. Did you see Nikare? Did you see Akure where you are? Look, Tayo.
I intend to complete your project, sir.
No, you want to? I say you want to complete my project. What I'm saying is this, Tayo.
Sir.
In your own time.
Yes, sir.
The road leading to your house was not tarred. I tied it for you. I said I don't. Did you see your road?
That road was started because your SA infrastructure lives on that road.
Not this case.
Your permanent
time is up for this, but we need to go now.
I started the road for you.
We're out of time. We're out of time,
in charge of work.
We're out of time, gentlemen.
Around that place.
So we need to go now, but let me allow about 20 seconds each.
Seriously, he said because my SA.
Alright, we will cause perpetrators of violence during polls. Well, that's a statement coming from the DG of Akure. Well, he made that statement yesterday, when some political leaders visited him. On that note, we welcome you to the second part of the Ondo 2020 countdown election, happening on Saturday, 10th of October 2020. Well, today we are going to be looking at another perspective to what we discussed yesterday. Yesterday we talked more about the strength and of course weaknesses of some of the contestants of the forthcoming election. But today we are going to be looking at how prepared some of these candidates are. Of course we will be looking at our security operatives, what measures are really in place to curtail the issue of violence that seems to be so heightened, in Ondo polity as we speak. But then I will not be doing this alone. I have with me in the studio a very good gentleman, really, who happens to be, well bred when it comes to politics. And then he will be joining me in this discussion, providing an in-depth analysis of all you need to know concerning the Ondo 2020 election. And his name is Mr. Ifeanyi Okoye. Mr. Ifeanyi, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, a lot has been said about the Ondo election, and we seem to be approaching it in a matter of days. Of course, we would be going into the election proper.
48 hours.
Exactly. So, can you let us your thoughts about this Ondo election to start with?
The Ondo election will be a case study or a litmus test to reaffirm the stand of the presidency in respect of free and fair election. Why I say it's to reaffirm or a litmus test, knowing fully well we just came out of the concluded election in Ondo State, and which by all standards it was adjourned free and fair from various sectors like the civil society, the security, and international agencies. So looking at Ondo, we expect nothing more or less from or something better than what we saw in Ondo State. But anything below that would be a double statement from the president.
All right, you seem to be queuing behind, people that feel that, okay, well, the president should also ensure free and fair. But going back the statements that the president made yesterday, that he will be giving support to Akeredolu, some political watchers are saying that could also mean, trying to or that could intimidate INEC to an extent. Do you agree with that?
Well, INEC, we have always known, has never been independent, even though it claimed to be independent.
How do you mean?
Because they are being funded by the same executive, which is the arm of government, which is the presidency at the federal level and the governors at the state
that
level.
Belongs to the APC?
No, I didn't say APC. In respect of party affiliation,
okay.
INEC is an independent body
by
the act as establishing them.
Yeah, if you say the INEC, INEC is being funded by the executive, what party controls the executive?
We have had different parties, but presently we have APC.
Okay.
So it's being controlled by the executive. Indirectly, I'm talking the president.
Right.
So even though there are most of brands of INEC and how chairman or rec have been appointed, but it's subject to the ratification and confirmation by the president.
Right.
So if he says that it's going to be free and fair, we hope it will be in words and in character, not telling us free and fair. And
are you skeptical about that statement?
Well, we have to be skeptical. That's why I said earlier that it's to reaffirm what we saw in Edo
State. Okay.
So if once it has, at least we saw it in Edo, we are still waiting. We are hopeful, but anything short of that will be a double statement.
But we've also, heard in some quarters that, quote and unquote, that some of the party chieftains of, the ruling party are mounting pressure on the presidency to, maybe intervene, quote and unquote, intervene in the Ondo election, so that the same thing that befell
what
the
is he
ruling party.
intervening for? It's not. It doesn't need to intervene. To intervene, that is it.
But don't you think the ruling party in Ondo State needs the support of the president?
Well,
that's his party. He is the leader of the party.
Yes, the president is the leader of the party, but Ondo State is different from the president, which is based in Abuja. By coming in saying he wants to support, is it not undue influence or external influence? If the Ondo people is supposed to decide who they want to hold sway for another 4 years of stewardship, if the governor has really done well, I don't see any reason the presidents have to intervene. Because coming in to intervene just like bringing in a tendency of undue influence, and if the president should intervene, as you have said, or a kind of, I don't know how I'll put it.
No, don't you think that would play to the advantage of the governor? Okay, let's leave that aside, but let's look at, the Ondo APC and APC in general going into this election. People have actually cited the case of Ondo State, that APC actually was a house divided, going into that election, and of course now they seem to be united. Right, in fact,
in Ondo State.
Yes, in Ondo State right now. The governor of Kogi State was there yesterday, in fact, campaigning for Akeredolu, and then we also heard that the ex-chairman of APC, Comrade Adams Oshomole, will also be there, on the day of election, and a couple of other leaders too. going into that election as a united party, do you think that is a major factor for the re-election of Governor Akeredolu?
Well, if that's what you feel, I can't say.
No, I don't feel. I'm only asking that. Do you feel?
I don't feel that way because
right.
there's a problem which people don't see in Ondo. The case of Edo is different from Ondo.
Right.
The case of Edo was strictly the people versus the few privileged people, in
right.
quotes,
right.
the Godfather,
right.
and the opportunist.
Right.
So the people revolted against the Godfather in Ondo State. It was not based, and Edo, remember the Edo people never voted. People felt maybe they voted BDP. No, they only voted. They looked beyond party line. They voted for an individual
who had performed.
Yes, the people of Edo felt he was victimized. Then coming down to Ondo State as a whole, saying the APC is united, I will not entirely agree that statement is true, because looking at the three top candidates in the state, you see that there is a crack in APC. Within along the three parties, because one, the governor might have the power of incumbency, but it's the people with him. That's another question.
Right.
And looking at the two major contestants aside the governor, which is Jegede and Agbola, you find out that Agbola seems to be the green horse in the race.
Right.
Though he's the deputy governor, coming from where he's coming, and he has the support of the grassroots and the downtrodden.
So can you now describe him as a green horse in this race?
Well, I was describing.
That will not be totally correct. He has the grassroots support. In fact, he said, do not forget that he contested in 2016 and he had made wild allegation that he was actually the factor that brought Akeredolu to power. So you cannot totally discard him or call him a green horn in this race.
Well, the point of the whole issue is why I made that actually there are some point to that, but looking at Agbola as a person has more strength based the Ondo electorate
than the two other candidates.
I'll tell you why. Then the Ondo electorate, most of the deciding votes that you get a winner, majority of the votes come from those riverine area.
Right.
And I can tell you that Agbola has overwhelming influence of the riverine area behind him.
So are you insinuating some level of surprises?
There's going to be a horse trading at the dying hour, because already Agbola has been approached by PDP to form an alliance, which he refused.
Of course, you think he should accept it?
Well, in politics there is concession.
Right.
Winner don't take it all. Sometimes there is always a level of agreement between two candidates, but the issue of Agbola and Jegede, I don't see it. There is no compromise and there is no concession. So it will be difficult for them to have a very strong front to fight the incumbent government.
And you think that is what the opposition party needs at this time to wrestle power from him?
Yes, that will play a major factor against them. And with all this on ground, I believe that the incumbent governor will return unopposed. Because even the oppositions, they are not united.
Right. Okay. Let's look at the issue of violence. Springing up before the election, and of course, a lot of people have actually voiced their complaint, and then of course concern too that there might be violence during the election, and in fact post-election also. What do you think the security operatives should be doing? What measures do you think should be in place to forestall any ugly incidents during and after the election?
I think I always commend the security agencies in that of Edo, but they can do better than what they did in Edo in Ondo State.
Right.
Because when the security agency, when there is violence in every election, it tells you that there have been a partisanship,
right,
or from the security agency, or they look the other way around because of one or two interests. But when their jobs are done professionally, I don't think there will be violence. I think the people will come out and decide who they want.
Right. All right. Let's quickly look at there was a debate I think about last week or so between Jegede and Akeredolu, and of course a lot were said about during the debate. Let's quickly see that video and then we'll come back shortly.
Well, this is a surprise. Okay, let me ask. So, Governor, will you be prepared to reduce the tuition fees to what operated before you came in, at least for university students?
Well, it is something I believe this state cannot do. I am not prepared to do it because we have responsibilities, and those responsibilities were put on us by the government to serve them. This state has no business having 3 universities at the same time. Today, if they were allowing 25,000 when they had 2 universities, when you now have 3 universities, it is a whole lot of responsibility. And I believe quite strongly, for that matter, that we have more than what we are chewing, more than what we can bite, or we are biting more than what we can chew. Sorry for that. And for me, it is for the good of these people, of our people, that our students will go to university and have proper university education, not have great education, not one in which because you are paying pittance, you don't get proper education. We are giving them proper education. That's why today, Adekunle Ajasin, that you are talking about,
Alright, welcome back. Of course, it's still talking politics here on Vanguard Live TV, broadcasting to you from Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. We still have Mr. Ifeanyi Okoye in the studio, dissecting all the issues regarding the Ondo 2020 election. And just before we went on break, we were talking about, the issue of security and, of course, the measures that should be in place during and after the election to forestall outbreak of possible violence during the election. Well, we just saw a video of Akeredolu and of course Jegede reeling out their achievements and what they hope to do if they are re-elected, or of course elected. But then you would see Akeredolu listing out a number of infrastructure development, and then Jegede saying that, well, I am going to do more than you. Do you agree that if he has the opportunity, he could do well than the incumbent?
Jegede, as a person, he has been at the helms of affair to create some reforms in the judiciary, being the Attorney General of Ondo State under the predecessor of Akeredolu, which was Mimiko. So we saw how he performed brilliantly, and if given the opportunity, he could perform. But sometimes performance are not judged by how we do. How workable and achievable and realistic are some of those things.
Right.
Because Ondo needs to be industrialized. I think that is what some of the things Akeredolu is looking out to do. But in as much he's trying to industrialize, he has the education sector is having some challenge, because looking at the people of Ondo State, most of them are majorly civil servants, peasant farmers, cocoa farmers, and education at the state level. The only very befitting of the thing the governor can do is to make education accessible to the people. But increasing the money for people to go to school, to pay school fees, I don't think it's reasonable.
But don't you think the governor was making a valid point when he said that you already have 2 state university, then creating a third one is more like creating more burden for the government, with a state with less, resources to fund other projects, right? Like getting the third university is more like...
Whoever asks for a third university is not necessary.
Right.
Why don't he has a point, because you can, those 2 universities, you can upgrade them, equipment, infrastructure, and research lab or whatever, and make them one of the best to compete with the best, than having the idea of creating a third university. Then the other what he could do as well is to make Ondo an industrial hub in line with the cocoa farming and other aspects or mineral resources the state have.
Right. Okay, let's look at the chances of the PDP candidates going into this election. Yesterday, PDP stalwarts and of course some other chieftains were in Ondo State yesterday, and particularly the former governor of Ekiti State, Mr. Oyedele Fayose, was also there. And then a particular incident happened where his cap was removed and all that. And then he came out today to say that, accusing some of the chieftains of the PDP also present, including the governor of Ondo State, that they sponsored the assault against him. Do you think this is what the PDP need? Facing or going into an election where, according to some political calculation, the incumbent has about 55% possible rate of winning. Do you think this is what the PDP need at this point of time?
What transpired yesterday was accumulated anger, or that event that has transpired over time. Some of the leaders within the party just wanted to prove a point to Fayose. Right. I remember Fayose over time, he has been accused severally of anti-party, even within the party. Not of till recently. There was an issue that happened in Lagos when he came to declare the campaign office of I think Babatunde Badamosi, where he made a statement referring to one of the chieftains in Lagos, which was Bode George, asking him to retire from politics. And secondly, the same Oyedele Fayose has been accused of not being loyal to the leader of the party in the southwest of that for PDP, which is the present governor of Ondo State. So a lot of issues are transpiring. So even I watched the video. It was a premeditated attack, sponsored. Definitely, the young man who pulled his cap was being sponsored or sent by somebody who is behind the scene. So the only thing, as they approach the election, I think they should shed their salt and try to make peace.
Internal rankings is normal in every political parties, but then people said that it is not healthy, especially when you have a common enemy that you wish to confront, in a matter of hours. You think that might impact negatively the chances of Iyita Ojegede going into
I don't really think it will impact much.
I
think what happened really yesterday, and we all saw it. If it was an attack by the opposition, we will say maybe it was a sponsored talk by the opposition, but it's an attack within the party itself. I think it's the only best way of resolving it is let these stalwart or stakeholders or chieftains call whoever is to call them to order, they shoot their sword. So it's a normal thing to affect their chances.
All right, many thanks, Mr. Ifeanyi Okoye, for coming on the show.
Problem.
All right, that's all we have for you today on Talking Politics, and of course on Countdown to the Ondo election. Of course, tomorrow we will be serving you a fresh dose of another edition on the Countdown to Ondo 2020 election. Do not forget to like all our social media platform, showing on the screen, and of course visit our website www.vanguardngl.com for updated and of course breaking stories regarding Ondo State and all the trending issues in Nigeria and beyond. And of course, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel Vanguard NGL, where you get interesting and of course trending videos to keep you abreast of happenings in Nigeria. My name is Bankole Imano. Thanks for staying tuned.